All right, guys. So I'm gonna explain how God and science coexist. So a lot of people have like one side. So they're like, you either believe in science or you believe in God, right? Or you believe in religion, right? And a lot of atheists think that religion is fake. Religion is just like something that was made up by humans. When they don't understand that, like perhaps religion and all these things is just a byproduct of truth. So you have to kind of understand how this works, right? Because I was an atheist before. So, it's not that I didn't believe in God. It was just that, like, I was like, okay, well, whatever, it's God. You know what I mean? So I was an atheist before, but I recently did convert to Islam. And I was trying to seek answers from the universe, right? And trying to ask, like, okay, like, prove to me that you exist. Prove to me that, like, why should there be a God? Like, because I believe in truth, right? That's what I believe in. But I eventually arrived that the only truth there is God, right? That's the ultimate truth, the singular higher power that ties everything in this universe together. You have to think about God as immanent, he's immanent, which is basically within the creation, and he's also transcendent, which is beyond creation. So God is one and all. Just like how everything is one, one is also everything. And this is what God is. This is why you cannot prove that God exists within like a concrete. That's why you can't give or find concrete evidence that God exists. Because it's like, okay, if God exists, like, where is he? And what you don't understand is God is literally everywhere. He is within the energy. So you know how there's the law of physics, basically, energy cannot be created nor destroyed. It can only be converted, right? So a lot of people argue that, like, okay, well, energy just is. Like, energy in the universe, it just is, right? Like, there was not, it wasn't created, nor was it just, like, it was destroyed. It was just always there, right? Energy was always there. But through scientific revelation, we've discovered that actually the universe is continuously expanding, right? Now, what's responsible for making this expand? Right? People think like, oh, well, it's just energy. It's like, well, no, well, energy cannot be created or destroyed. So it's not like when the universe is expanding, you can't continue to create new energy, can you? Right? You can't continue to just create new and new energy as the universe expands. Like, no, that's not how it works. So the one who's responsible for expanding the entire universe is God. You know, and what you guys have to understand is God is within every single energy. Think about how one is, so you guys have to really understand, in order for you to understand that God and science coexist with each other. They work in harmony. But you guys have to understand it like this, okay? Atheists think that energy just is, right? There was no creation or anything. And this is partially true. But what you guys also have to realize is that God is within the energy that flows within the universe. So just like how God is the one singular origin point, the source of everything in this universe. So think about how the universe are basically okay. It's hard to explain, but let's say you have this coin here, right? What is this coin made out of? Now, let's say hypothetically speaking, this coin was made out of a single atom, right? So the universe is just a collection of atoms, right? If you were to break down science into its core, all the universe is in the materialistic world is a collection of atoms, right, that are collected together and assembled together to create all, right? And that's what the universe is. So there's like little atoms, one by one by one by one by one, collected. Like with me, I have a bunch of atoms, I have a bunch of cells in my body, and all these cells I had within me make up me, right? And then me make up another person, and then that person makes up another population, and the population makes up the city makes up, so it all expands. So basically the concept is that there's God is the one that's responsible for collecting all the atoms in the universe and gathers it to make all exist. So God is, when I mean by God is everywhere, is that God is the singular point, singular higher power. He's the one that controls and orders the universe, but at the same time he's within it all. So God is one and all simultaneously. Do you guys understand? So as the universe is expanding with what we know with recent discovery of science, God is the one that's himself expanding. So when we say the universe is expanding, God, what that really means from a religious context is that God is also expanding with the energy. And he's the one that's creating that new energy, right? That makes the universe expand. Do you guys understand? But he's still one. It's not like when the universe is expanding, you have 2 creators now, or 3 or 4, and you just have more and more creators. It's like, no, there has only been one created universe. But how small or big the universe is like irrelevant, because at the end of the day, there was only one creator. Not the size and magnitude of how big the universe is or not is dependent on God's will, right? So people need to understand that science is an observation of the truth, and God is within science. When we try to basically, science is basically discovery in observations of the truth, right? That's what we do, right? That's the scientific method. You basically have an hypothesis, you test it with an experiment, you create a procedure to conduct the experiment, then you analyze the data, and then you draw conclusions. That's the scientific method, okay? Now, what you guys need to understand is that these are observations that we collect from observing at least the things from this earth, right? Like atoms, electrons, all these things, all these things about the universe, like physics, like the law of physics. These are things we observed. But what you have to realize is that God is within all these things. God is the one that governs and creates all the laws of physics. So all the laws of physics, everything that governs this universe that as science, God is responsible for collecting it all together. And this is the most simplistic way to view the universe. To view it as one and all. All is one, one is all. God is one and all simultaneously. People say in the Quran that God is closer to us than our internal jugular vein, right? Our internal jugular vein is right here, right? And God is closer to us than that. And everyone. God is everywhere. What does that mean? That means that God is within every single atom of this universe. Because remember, God is the one that collects every single atom in this universe, gathers it all together to make all exist, to make the entire universe exist. So God is literally within each atom because he is the atom. Do you guys understand? God is the atom. Like every atom that you see in the universe that's collected to make this, right? Or to make my body, God is within that. You guys understand? But he's also one. It's not like, let's say for me, I don't know how many atoms there are, because I'm not really an expert in chemistry, but let's say there's like 5 billion atoms in this right here, right? Now, are we going to say that there's 5 billion different gods? Because there's one atom for each god? It's like, no. It's like, there's 5 billion atoms, but God is just within each atom, right? God is within every atom, and God is the one that assembles the 5 billion atoms in here into one, right? And that's what the universe is. He collects every single atom and materialistic thing in this world to make it all exist. So even though when we observe the universe on the outside, we can't see God, but what we don't understand is God exists within everything, okay? He is the creation of truth and truth itself. That's why God doesn't have a beginning or an end. God is. He's just present with energy, with the universe as it is, right? And in Islam, we have this concept known as fitra, which basically means natural instinct. And with their own natural instinct, every human has had this, and most atheists are going to probably say, no, I'm going to deny it, but you probably thought about this too. It's about the oneness of God. It's the oneness of a higher power. Let's not even call it God, because the moment I say God, people like to talk about religion, because people associate the word God with religion when all it is no, there's just a higher power. There's a created universe, right? So that's what it is. And there's a oneness of God. If you're to give someone a bunch of tests, if you're to test someone a question of, is there one creator, 2 creators, or 3 creators in the universe? So hypothetically speaking, atheists don't believe there's a created universe. The universe just is, right? But what they don't understand is that, of course, God is within the universe, right? So that's debunked. But let's say hypothetically speaking, there were creators of the universe, right? Would there be 1 creator, 2 creators, or 3 or 4? Obviously everyone would say there's 1 creator, because it doesn't make sense for there to be 2 different creators, because then they're going to be combating each other. So what if one creator decided to create the laws of physics to be this, And another creator decided for the laws of physics to be this. And they're all both arguing each other. So you can't have two separate entities be the creator. There's only one creator. And it's the one creator that ordains everything in this universe, that makes all the energy in this universe flow. Which means that when I pour water into this cup, God is the one that's responsible for making all the atoms of the water fill this cup up in this way. He's permissibly allowing this. Because remember, God is everywhere. God is here. God is here. God is in Japan. God can be in, Mars. God is everywhere. Because he's the one singular point that makes everything, that gathers everything in his universe together. So you have to think about the entire universe holistically as God, right? And when the universe expands, all that means is God himself is also expanding with the energy, with the new atoms and energy that expand the universe. But at the end of the day, it's all one creator. It's all the same person. I mean, we can't even call God a person. It's just an eminent entity. But that's the most simplistic way to view the universe, all right? And it's the one that makes the most sense. And it's also one of the reasons why we can't find God or find concrete evidence that God exists. Because how can you find evidence from something that has transcended the material world? Because when you just look at an atom, you're like, oh, I just see a bunch of atoms. Where's God? Where's God? I don't see God in here. But what you don't realize is that no, like God is here and also everywhere else too. You see, God is also immanence, which is he's present in the material world. So he's present in all these atoms that he's created in the universe. But he also transcends it, which means he ordains all the atoms in the universe. He ordains every atom in the universe. So when I pour water into a cup, it takes this cup. God is the one that's permissibly allowing the cup to take this form. Okay? So that's how you know that. Because here's the thing, I wanted to find these answers because I wasn't just going to convert to religion just cause, okay? Like, if Islam is the truth, and if religion and God in a higher power does exist, then I have to be able to understand it through a scientific lens. And that's the way I'm understanding this right now, is that God really is part of the universe. I mean, he's not part of the universe, he just is the universe. Like, you guys understand? Like, you guys are looking at, like, the surface level materialistic things, and you're like, God doesn't exist. It's like, well, of course you can't see God, because it's like God is literally everywhere. He's literally every single atom. What if God is the one that's responsible for making all the atoms move in this way, right? You guys don't understand. Who's making that? Who's permissively allowing the atoms to make and move in this way, right? Who's allowing who's allowing the sun and all the atoms inside the sun like glow and remain hot, right? Who's the one responsible? People think, oh, it's just energy. It's just energy. It just is. Like, why do we need to introduce a God? Part of the equation of energy. It's like, no. It's like, you guys don't understand. He is part of everything. So yeah, guys, like people like to argue this, but this is the way I understand it. God really does coexist with science when you really understand it in this way, because God is one in all, and he's all in one simultaneously. So it's hard to that's how it's hard to pinpoint where he is, because he's literally everywhere, but he's also one. See, it's like two opposites. Not only is God one, but God is literally every atom in the universe. So like, that's why it's so hard to find him, because it's like, so that's the thing, guys. But humans do have a natural fitra of there being one God, of the oneness of God. So that's what I meant by the oneness of God, is that we believe that there's only one creator, and that's true. But where's the creator? Like, I don't see him. I don't see God. Like, God doesn't exist, blah, blah, blah. It's like, no. He is part of the energy in the flow of this materialistic world that you just can't see. That transcends materialistic world. Because you have to keep in mind, humans are limited. Okay? Our human understanding cannot comprehend God by just looking at the materialistic world. You have to think outside the box. And you can't just arrive at this with just pure logic and analyzation. You have to look at the outside perspective. You have to really open and stretch your mind to its different capacity, like I had to do, because I was like, I needed proof that God exists, bro. I need proof, like, how can I incorporate God within all the science that we know? And this is the answer. God, it doesn't have a beginning or end. He just is and present within every energy of the universe, within all the atoms in the universe. And he's the one singular origin point that gathers everything in the universe together. And that's how you know that the universe literally equals God. That's how you know. So, yeah, guys.